"Sir, my baby sister is freezing," the little boy said. The CEO wrapped them in his coat and took them home. Full 1800-word story Part 1. Only no continuation needed. The snow fell in heavy, whispering sheets that night, soft enough to look magical from a warm window, but cruel enough to steal the breath of anyone trapped outside. Most people hurried home, boots crunching against the frozen pavement, cheeks red and hands stuffed deep into their pockets for warmth. Christmas lights blinked cheerfully from porches, glowing like promises of comfort and safety. But on one lonely park bench, half covered in snow, sat a shivering little boy clutching an even smaller bundle in his tiny arms, praying that someone, anyone, would notice them before it was too late. Ethan Cross, a 36-year-old billionaire CEO known for his sharp decisions and colder demeanor, was not the kind of man who usually took slow walks in the snow. Yet that evening, something compelled him to step out of his penthouse, away from the endless emails and the hollow silence of his empty home. He didn't know that just a few steps away, fate was waiting for him, small, freezing, and desperately afraid. Before you continue, if you believe in kindness, compassion, and second chances, please like, comment, share, and subscribe. Your support helps us bring more stories that remind the world how powerful a single moment of humanity can be. Ethan almost walked past the bench. He almost dismissed the small shape as a pile of snow-covered blankets. But a faint cry, a thin, trembling whimper, made him turn his head. And the sight before him stopped his heartbeat entirely. A boy no older than 5 sat huddled on the bench, cheeks streaked with tears and dirt. His coat was too thin, his jeans torn at the knee, and his little boots soaked through. In his lap lay a baby wrapped in a faded gray blanket, her tiny face red from crying and the cold. The boy's lips trembled violently as he tried to shield her from the falling snow. Ethan stepped closer instinctively, his instincts as a businessman momentarily overshadowed by something far more human, fear. Fear of what might happen if he didn't act. Fear that he was already too late. The boy looked up at him with wide, pleading eyes far too familiar with pain and responsibility. And in a voice that cracked like freezing branches, he whispered, "Sir, my baby sister is freezing, please, help her." That single sentence felt like a punch to Ethan's chest. Something inside him, something buried under years of loss and loneliness, split open. Without hesitation, he removed his heavy wool coat and wrapped it around both children, pulling the thick fabric snugly around their tiny bodies. He hadn't planned on saving anyone that night. But in that moment, he knew he couldn't walk away. Ethan gently lifted the infant first, then offered his other arm to the boy. The child hesitated only briefly before taking it, trusting him because he had no other choice. Together, the three of them moved through the snow, the streetlights flickering softly above them like guardian stars. As they walked, Ethan's heart pounded with questions. Where were their parents? How long had they been outside? Why were 2 children suffering like this in a city full of wealth and warmth? The little boy clung to his side silently, his breath sharp and uneven from both cold and fear. When they reached Ethan's car, the boy stared at it as though it were a spaceship. His eyes widened further when the heated seats warmed beneath him. Ethan laid the baby safely across his lap, adjusting the coat again to keep the warmth trapped around them. She had stopped crying, but her breathing was faint, shallow. Too shallow. The drive to Ethan's mansion felt painfully long. Every red light felt like a battle against time. Ethan kept glancing back, afraid to blink in case the baby's chest stopped moving. He didn't even care about the snowstorm slowing down traffic. For the first time in a long while, business didn't matter. Money didn't matter. Only those 2 children mattered. When the car rolled through the iron gates of his estate, the boy's mouth fell open. The mansion shone with Christmas lights across the long driveway, looking like something out of a dream he didn't dare to dream. Ethan rushed them inside, calling for his housekeeper, Maria, a gentle, warm-hearted woman who had worked with his family since he was a boy. Maria's gasp echoed through the foyer as she saw the children. Her hands immediately went to work, grabbing warm towels, heating blankets, bringing hot water bottles, and preparing warm milk for the baby. Ethan carried the infant to the living room, which was instantly transformed into a makeshift emergency station. The fire crackled loudly, throwing a golden glow across the room. Maria wrapped the baby in a heated blanket, rubbing her arms and feet gently, checking her temperature. Ethan knelt beside the boy, removing his wet boots and socks, replacing them with warm wool ones. The boy winced as his cold skin touched the warmth, but he didn't complain. He just watched them with cautious hope, as though terrified this kindness might disappear. Ethan finally asked the question that had been burning inside him. "Where are your parents?" The boy swallowed hard, eyes filling with tears again. He stared at his baby sister as though drawing strength from her tiny presence. "Mommy, she was sick. Really sick. She said she was gonna get help but, she didn't come back." His voice shook. "I waited and waited, but she didn't come. And it got cold. And my sister started crying, so I tried to keep her warm but I couldn't." Maria covered her mouth to muffle a sob. Ethan felt something sharp twist inside his chest. This boy had been trying to survive. Trying to protect a baby when he was barely more than a baby himself. "What's your name?" Ethan asked gently. "Lucas," the boy whispered. "And this is my sister, Emma." Lucas. Emma. Names that suddenly felt as important to Ethan as air. Over the next hour, Maria fed Emma warm milk while Ethan helped Lucas eat a bowl of soup. The boy devoured it as though he hadn't eaten in days. Which, Ethan realized, might be true. When Emma finally settled, breathing normally and resting peacefully in Maria's arms, Ethan took Lucas upstairs. The boy looked around with wide, unsure eyes as he entered one of the guest bedrooms, now quickly prepared with warm blankets and soft lighting. Ethan sat beside him on the bed, noticing how Lucas kept glancing toward the door as if expecting someone to take all of this away. "You're safe here," Ethan said quietly. "Both of you." Lucas nodded slowly but didn't smile. He just held the coat Ethan had wrapped around him earlier, gripping it like it was the only thing keeping him grounded. Ethan stayed with him until he finally drifted off to sleep, exhaustion claiming him before fear could. Then he checked on baby Emma, who now slept soundly. For the first time in years, Ethan didn't feel alone in his giant house. He felt a strange warmth in his chest, something unfamiliar, something powerful. In the hours that followed, Ethan called hospitals, the police, and local shelters, desperately trying to locate the children's mother. But each call ended with the same response: no recent admissions, no missing person reports filed, no information at all. It was as if she had vanished into the storm. A part of Ethan, a part he didn't usually listen to, feared the worst. By morning, Lucas woke to the smell of pancakes and the soft laughter of Maria. When he walked into the kitchen, Emma was in a baby chair with a tiny pink blanket around her. The sight made Lucas stop in his tracks. His eyes filled instantly, and his lip trembled. He rushed to her side, checking her little hands, her cheeks, her breathing, making sure she was really okay. Then he whispered a shaky "thank you" to Maria, and another to Ethan, though he didn't look up when he said the second one. He was shy. Worn down. But grateful. Days turned into a week. The storm passed, but no trace of Lucas and Emma's mother appeared. Meanwhile, Lucas slowly came out of his shell. He followed Ethan around the house quietly, sometimes standing in the doorway just watching him work, sometimes sitting beside him without speaking. He seemed to find comfort simply being close. Emma began to smile more, her cheeks full and rosy again. She would giggle whenever Ethan lifted her or made silly faces, something he never imagined himself doing, but did anyway, gladly. A new routine formed. Ethan, once a man consumed by business, found himself warming bottles, reading bedtime stories, and learning how to braid baby hair, badly.